Members of Parliament are expected to pass the Dog Liability for Attacks Act inside Gordon House this afternoon. The legislation, being piloted by Justice Minister Delroy Chuck, aims to give more teeth to laws that hold dog owners accountable for dog attacks. The legislation is being pushed through even as the country comes to terms with news of another dog attack. The victim this time is a 5-year-old boy in St. Anne, who is now left with grievous injuries. Little Michael Allen is recovering in hospital after being attacked by a pack of dogs on the weekend. He was bitten all over his body. The attack will no doubt be a point of discussion in Parliament as members debate elements of the Dog Liability for Attacks Act. Minister of Justice Delroy Chuck tabled the act on July 21. However, members on both sides of the aisle, while agreeing that it's needed, have raised concerns about certain terms used in the document. Minister Chuck explained in a recent JIS think tank session.
And there are just one or two words that they have concerns with. What is the meaning of attack? Now, we have defined attack as where it causes injury or the dog attempts to bite or to injure the person. Not only, we can even put words where there's a reasonable apprehension of injury. And at this moment, and before the act is finally passed, we're trying to determine what is the right phrase to use to define attack. Where we're concerned is this legislation is not meant to punish dog owners, but is meant to urge dog owners to ensure that your private space is well secured. Because too often you drive around communities and you see dogs running up and down the road. You have people who take walks in the morning, who take walks in the evening, are being chased by dogs that are supposed to be contained in the householder's private space. But these dogs, from they see persons on the road, they jump the fence or go through holes in the fence. And we're saying that when that occurs, the dog owner will be responsible.
There are also concerns about the tough penalties for certain grievances established in the Act. Under the Act, dog owners could be fined between $500,000 to $3 million or sentenced to up to 15 years in prison.
No, there are dog owners who walk their dogs, who say that this legislation is frightening because if the dog escaped from there. Then I said, well, if you take the errand, you walk with 6 dogs and hold them, and then one of them, get loose and bite someone, whose fault is it? Why should the victim suffer because you have taken it on yourself not to be in a position to control your dog that you're walking on the street? So the main consideration is that the citizens of this country who have a right to walk in a public space, if dog owners cause their dog to bite anyone in the public space, they will be liable. Now, the criminal liability will not be recorded. So it's not like, most criminal offenses where you get a criminal record. So for most dog bites, it will be a fine, or if you fail to pay the fine, yes, a term of imprisonment. Only if the matter goes is a serious one in which death occurs. So there are cases where, and I say it occurs very often, but the dog owner can do something, seeing the dog attacking the person, or maybe even encourage the dog to attack the person, and the person suffers death. Then, and it goes to the Supreme Court, then the likelihood is that it could be a term of imprisonment because you have weaponized the dog. And in those cases, you may well suffer. It might be manslaughter, and it could be a term of imprisonment, and there would be a criminal record.
The legislation establishes that the owner of a dog has a duty to ensure that at all times, while the dog is in a public place, the dog is kept under control. The dog should be fitted with a muzzle that prevents individuals from being bitten.